Hello, Amelia, and welcome to the Make Life Rich Movement podcast. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So happy to be here.
I'm very excited for you to be here as well because you, I feel like, have really bridged the gap to such a wide problem with such a simple solution. And I truly cannot wait to get into it. You have such an incredible career path in e commerce that I believe has set you up to be truly the perfect person amongst your co founders to kind of create this beautiful company that you have co founded called Retold Recycling. You are a clothing recycling company that is responsible for removing 180 tons and counting of clothing and textiles and having diverted them from the landfill into more responsibly placed areas and
Mhm.
uses.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you.
Oh, thank you. What an intro. I love
I
that.
mean, I when speaking with your publicists and Stephanie among them, I had mentioned in doing my research, I was like, do you know that a baby blue whale, the largest animal on the planet, around like mid teens, they're hitting about 180 tons. Like
Mhm.
that's how much you have removed from basically landfills around the country. And it's the impact is massive and
Yeah.
you've just gotten started. So congratulations on all you've been able to accomplish. It's really impressive.
Oh, thank you. I mean, yes, from a business side, we're so proud, but I think the thing that gives us the most hope is just the trajectory we've had since we launched in 2020 and the passion that we can see from our customers. I mean, that's actually them recycling. It's not, they are the ones buying the bags, they're doing the good work. So I think that's the thing that we're most encouraged and fueled by every day is just, the way that our customer base has latched onto the concept. They appreciate the convenience of what we're doing and they love to be doing good for the earth. So yeah, we're here to help.
Ugh, I love it so much. It's so convenient to be able to recycle in this manner, but which we will get into later on. You just do so in a smart way that we know is going to be used in a purposeful, like have a purposeful outcome because there's a lot of mystery to the donation and charity cycle, and I love that you shed a bit of light on that to show others how to do so responsibly. But I would love to talk a little bit about your growing up in Melbourne, Australia. I wonder
Okay.
if that had any kind of impact on you with sustainability and wanting to care for the earth, because my goodness, what a beautiful place to grow up.
Yes, I actually spent a lot of time growing up in the country outside of Melbourne, and then I ended up moving to Melbourne when I was 18 to go to university. But yes, I will say, I have reflected on this before in that I think there's two things that kind of you can draw the certainly not linear, but draw the line from, my youth to where I am today with Retold. And one thing would be certainly growing up in Australia in the era that I did, there was very much the emergence of recycling. And I think that's something that was much more prevalent then back in the 80s. Don't want to age myself, but
Same.
um,
39.
yeah, then what was here from what I understand. So I think in Australia, we were very much taught to, separate all of our trash and recycle. And, we were very lucky that we had those at home different bins and things like that, that allowed us to do that with a collection from your council or whatever the case may be. So that was just something that I grew up with from the get go. And, then fast forward to me moving to New York many, many years later, I was like fascinated how there didn't seem to be the same amount of infrastructure. And I was, I was very perplexed by that because it's just something that I thought that everybody had. So that's one thing, sort of like learning about recycling from an early age, but also two, I loved fashion and shopping, to be honest. And so it's sort of almost like the backlash of that. And, I hand on heart, I will still say, I'm a consumer to this day. I'm probably a much more educated and considered consumer. But yeah, I definitely over time became aware of my own footprint in terms of my consumerism. And that's pretty much how Retold was born. I was trying to declutter my closets in my Brooklyn apartment as I was renovating. And I couldn't find a solution that was like simple and convenient to try and get stuff out of my home, but do it in a sustainable way. So, I was Ubering to Goodwill's or having to carry like huge IKEA bags to a farmer's market. And, none of it was easy. And I just knew that like something felt murky to me as well. Like I was like, I'm doing this, but I don't even know if this is really cutting it. And it just so happened that with my two friends who were my co-founders, we'd always talked about doing a startup together, and just the sort of worlds collided in terms of our collective need. So as I was like probably ranting about like, why can't I find something like this, and and sort of like the discussions that we were having, the idea percolated into something more finite, and that's really how Retold was born. So I can thank, my mom and my grandma and, my family for buying me all of those Vogue magazines when I was little to indulge my interest in fashion, and fast forward to, where it's brought me today. So that's a little bit of the background.
It resonates very deeply with me. Also, an 80s baby. And I think we were a really interesting generation that got the beauty of catalogs coming to your home,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
that was pre e-commerce. And then we were
Right.
the guinea pigs for e-commerce. Also, malls were really kind of made for us, I guess,
Yeah.
and us entering our teens. And it did create little shopping machines that led to creating fast fashion, which has led to creating such an absolute influx. I have no idea if this is a correct fact, but I read a meme that said there's enough clothing on the planet for the next 6 generations. Something
Something
like
like
that. I know it's
that.
immense, like beyond even trying to consider the amount of clothing that would be, but it got me thinking. And then Stephanie reached out and I was like, wow, perfect timing, because I think a lot of people really want to indulge in their creative side with their fashion, as I do, as we all do, but then there comes a moment where you're no longer wearing it, or it was a little poorly made and it's starting to fall apart, and it's no longer something that you feel comfortable donating to a thrift store because you know it's just going to end up in their trash pile. So what do you do with it? If it's
Mhm.
nylon, if it's not cotton, you can't really use it for cleaning. It's going to go into the trash. So
Exactly.
you really do come to find this crossroads when you're cleaning out your closet, as you were, and that's kind of always the time where we're like, where does this go, the trash or to the thrift store? Like, pick a
Yeah.
pile. And it's beautiful that you are not only a solution for one, you're a solution for both. So could you tell us a little bit about where the structure kind of came around, the problems that you knew you wanted to solve, both with
Mhm.
the things that aren't good enough for thrift stores and trying to take a bit of the pressure off of thrift stores that are truly inundated with too much product?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and as I mentioned, I was donating to thrift stores too during that sort of like ideation phase. And the net that we sort of came up with is that we wanted a one-stop shop, like something that was going to be a very easy and convenient solution that would take everything. I was Ubering to Goodwill. I was selling things on Poshmark. I was working with a consignment store. I was doing anything to get stuff out of my apartment in the right way. And then it was also like, but what am I doing with my undies and my socks? So the idea of like one bag, and have a show and tell, one retail bag, that you could order to your home, and basically drop everything in there, seal it up, pop it in the post, put it in your mail room, drop it off at your local USPS, just seemed like an absolute no-brainer of a situation. That was something that I could easily do from my apartment in Brooklyn. My co-founder Noelle, she could do in Northern California, like with her, different practice. She had access to a car. I didn't. Like it kind of like hit all bases. So that's really what we were trying to do. And then as we looked into the problem further, we did learn more about like what we call the scary stats around, charity stores, where everyone feels like they're doing the right thing, like I'm doing good, or there's also the allure of your little tax write-off. But, I think unfortunately for that channel, they get branded as a bit of a dumping ground, and people are not conscious around what they're donating. And what goes there. And I saw it firsthand. As I'm taking my stuff in, I'm seeing other people just drop things off out the front, and I could see with my own eyes that shouldn't be here. Or like I said, I can see a bra there. Like maybe they would sell that, but the chances of resale are much lower than having like a higher quality item. So it just, none of it felt good. And the research showed that 70-80% of things that go to charity stores end up going to landfill. And then as we peeled back the layer of the onion, as we were researching recycling itself, we were like, okay, well, where are the charity stores sending their things to be recycled? And unfortunately, we learned not only are they not really in most cases, and obviously this is not our business, so maybe there's newer stats to be had and they can speak for themselves, but the information that we got from our recycling partners is the quality of the thing, the garments and the feedstock effectively to go to them through the charity channel was much, much worse than what we could provide with Retold, because things get stuck in a back room, they're sitting in a bale. Usually there could be like rodents or something in that feedstock. And then if, it is able to be sent off to a recycling partner, a lot of the time, a lot of it's unusable. So we were hearing this and just sort of more and more, if we could make a very easy and convenient way to connect the customer and their stuff with a recycling partner directly to really sort of shorten that channel, and get the quality items to them, we knew that we could divert from landfills and have things processed to be given a second life effectively. So that kind of fueled us. We also had, the element of someone being able to put all of their mixed goods into a yellow bag and sent off to a recycling partner was a complete head scratcher for most companies in the industry. So when we were trying to set up Retold, they were like, wait, hang on a second. I'm going to get a random yellow bag from a customer through the mail to my office, and I need to recycle that. So kudos to our recycling partner that we found after like a year and a half of searching and basically asking anyone with a pulse if they knew anyone in textile recycling or sorting, who would speak to us. And we finally found someone who totally got our model and was like, you know what, this is unconventional for our workflows today, but I believe in you guys. I believe in the future of what you're trying to put forward, in that, we had a digital solution where customers could come online and order their bags, and then we make it super easy in their homes. And we were able to pull it off. And just to riff a little bit more on your question of like, where does it all go? So the thing that we really vetted with that partner is like, what happens behind the scenes and how do we have a level of comfort? Because the bags will go directly from the customer to their warehouses. They don't come through a Retold, facility. So we really dove deeply with them. And the thing that we really liked is that they have a connection to thrift stores. So if something is saleable and can be put back into that channel, great. Like, let's give it another go round. If it's a quality piece, like we all love vintage too, or there's things that you can, buy and upcycle or repair if you're into that. Awesome. We're all in favor. And then anything that can't be reused, which is where, it's so great for your socks and undies and, or stained things, things with like significant tears or holes, that all gets downcycled into a pulp, which in the industry is called shoddy. And now more and more we're seeing increasing uses of that, which also decreases the need for virgin materials. So that shoddy is used for things like the inside of car seats, the inside, for housing insulation, the inside of punching bags. So there's sort of like ongoing contracts and, increasing needs for that material. And that's something I'm personally very obsessed with. Like, how can we find more and more ways for companies to move away from the virgin materials and especially virgin plastics and use the shoddy that's been broken down. And that can also then be reused over and over again. So that's a bit of the background of what we're doing behind the scenes.
Man, it's such a beautiful rabbit hole to fall into because it seems like with your background and your co-founders' backgrounds, you all have that kind of logical brain that just breaks down systems really easily. Was that something that you all kind of pulled from in the beginning when you were trying to put all of this together? Because there's so many moving parts.
A little bit. And well, I will say yes. I mean, especially the benefit of, my two co-founders, they'd been to business school and had sort of like large global experience in different corporates. I'd obviously had my own career where I had a very deep sense of both, digital marketing, but also the commercial side and how to acquire customers, in the digital space and get them to be loyalists of your brand, to communicate your proposition. But I think so much of the back of house stuff was just more us being completely naive in that, like, we were not recyclers. We had never even touched this space. We had most recently worked in beauty, which again is like a completely different industry. So the naivete, but also coming from a place of being the consumer and saying, but why? But can't we do it this way? And I think it was just like the not giving up and I guess the tenacity to say no, we're not going to settle for a half-baked solution, and we want to proceed with our model that we believe in, and that's just what's going to happen.
I love that so much. I really do. And I wonder if because you all have this background of makeup in common, where your consumer is someone that very much knows their routines, they know their habits, they know what they like, they know what they want, they have an aesthetic that they choose to keep and change and grow with, which not only makes them the perfect consumer for having things they need to recycle, but they're also of the mindset of investing in things that they believe in, which
Mhm.
is very much, I think, something that Retold Recycling has nailed down in the community building department, because you have such an incredible legion of customers that seem to be, telling a lot of people about the fact that they have found you and that you are solving their problems in this area. So, what was some of the parameters that you wanted to really put in place when you were thinking about your client's journey and what you
Mhm.
knew was important to them and what you wanted to make sure you were providing?
Well, firstly, transparency. We wanted to make sure that they understood exactly what was happening behind the scenes, and we really didn't want to shy away from customers who we say like getting under the hood, like where they want to literally take apart the car and understand how you built it before they want to get out a lease. So we wanted to serve that information up as much as we could, even if it ends up being like a backwards and forwards conversation through customer service to answer questions. Like, we are here for it. So we really wanted to play into that transparency with, our visual assets, like, how do we get video of like what actually happens in our sorting facilities with our recycling partners, and how do we bring that to our customers? So that was very important to us. The other thing that we wanted to make everyone aware of, really honestly, was the problem, because I think in business you're asked like, what's your elevator pitch? And I always like to start, and we haven't sort of talked about the fact that we're on Shark Tank, but we said to the sharks, like in the tank, well, what do you do with your old socks and undies? And I'm not going to name names, but some of the sharks were like, well, yeah, I send that to Goodwill. And it's like, meh, that's not cool. you know um but it's because there's not an awareness truly of the problem, and there's also not an awareness of how simple the solution could be with something like Retold. So we really wanted to explain the why of what we were doing, what that huge landfill looks like, what it means in terms of the impact to the environment, with sort of like, what it does to the soil, what it does to the air, etc., etc., runoff into water, all of those kind of scary stats, and provide the education around like what we're doing and how we can help. And then I'd say the third thing that we did, that when we're sort of really thinking about our customer, was to provide a subscription. So we always knew we wanted to have the a la carte bags and someone to be able to buy a solo and just try the service. But we always wanted to have a subscription because we want this to be habitual. Like, we want someone to have a recycling practice. Just as, every Wednesday I put out my recycling bin with my glass and my paper goods and whatever else. I want our customers to have the retail bags in their home that they're filling up on a regular basis, they're sending off, and then they're getting some more because they believe in what they're doing, which is a great thing, diverting from landfills, and just make it super easy and convenient from them, and it just becomes part of the regular heartbeat of your home. So there are a few things that we really thought about with the customer.
Oh, I love it so much. And you really did make it as simple as possible. I think I've seen there was a plastics recycling program that I got really excited about when I heard it, and it was just so clunky of a service, and it ended up taking a really long time for me to amass this very specific plastic that can't be recycled anywhere. And
Yeah.
it ended up being a thing where, my husband's like, "Why is this box under the bathroom cabinet filled with empty containers? Like, what's going
Yeah.
on?" And I'm like, all right, I understand. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the concept of keeping a very pliable, squishy bag that you could literally shove into a drawer in the back of your closet, and throughout, the seasons of this doesn't fit anymore, shove it in there. Like, you fill the
Exactly.
bag up and off you go. It's pre-labeled. Like, you've truly thought of everything. And I wonder if we could just indulge for a second what it looks like for someone in the city
Mhm.
to donate and the costs that are involved, because your price points for the subscriptions and for just purchasing a bag are, they pale in comparison to the strife, time, and costs that it would take for you to get these items to a thrift store that, may not even be open, because in the city, who knows? Okay.
Yes.
Like, it's very, you may think it's an operating hour and it isn't. You've got 5 bags that are like feel like 300 pounds. Your arms are throbbing. You're sweating. And then you're like, what
Been
do I do with this?
there.
Yeah, we all
Yeah.
have, man. And if you live like in somewhere where you can drive your car and drop it off, you filled your car up and you've gotten there and you've been like, oh my God, the line to donate is so long. Or there's always these factors that seem to inconvenience what you want and expect to be a seamless, feel good process. And
Mm.
I think that's what you've delivered, because it's an out of sign, out of mind thing, or it's something you're very happily engaging in because you're cleaning out your closet. It's like a win-win no matter what. But
Yeah.
could you describe a little bit about what went into the bags, the process of you choosing the bag, getting the bag made? Because
Mhm.
it has to be versatile to take some heavy jeans, maybe something with a zipper. Like, how did you navigate that throughout that creation process?
Yeah, that was some trial and error, to be honest. And I complain about that it took us a year and a half to find our recycling partner, but the benefit that that gave us is that we had a year and a half to work out everything else as well. Um, so yeah, it was a good thing for our bags. So the first thing for us, which kind of backs into your previous question around like what were we thinking about for the customer, is that it was a non-negotiable for us to have a compostable bag. We really wanted to walk the talk. And yes, there's a lot of great recycled poly out there, and that is, to be honest, a more sturdy product. But for us, like, we couldn't be contributing to something else that couldn't be recycled again. So for us, it was all about the compostable bag. And, that then dictated the size of the bag. And to be honest, our price points, because we needed something that could travel through the post and would withstand that effort. But we couldn't have something that weighed a ton, because one, the price of shipping that would be a nightmare, and we'd go out of business, quite frankly. And it would break the bag as well. So we really got to a place of like, our bags are around the size of a pillowcase, and you'd be surprised what you can fit in there. You know, you can really kind of like shove it in. But we were considerate around that. Like we wanted to make sure it was easy and convenient, like you said, that you can have a few sitting in a drawer, or you know, I have one of mine here in my office, so you know, I have a closet in here, I can like easily put things in there as I'm like taking things out of my daughter's bedroom where you know things are stained, or you know, I've realized that she's outgrown something, I can just quickly pop it in. It can sit next to your you know washing machine, or next to your clothes basket, if that's kind of the setup that you have. But yeah, we wanted to make it sort of not cumbersome, super easy. And again, as I mentioned, something can be easily habitual. And then from a postage perspective, it was very important to us to leverage the USPS network because those routes are already being run. You know, we use other, you know, there's other partners out there that, you know, could have given us a different service, but we weren't confident that they weren't going to add additional carbon footprint. So we went with the USPS routes. And, you know, that means that hopefully most people can either get a pickup from their home or drop to quite a convenient place, because we, from the get go, wanted to serve the entire, you know, US. And we, you know, there are parts of the country where it is a bit of a drive to, you know, drop things off or whatever the case may be. So we wanted to, again, make it super easy. You know, I love the visual of like a farm in Iowa and they have the post box with the little flag and there's like a retail bag sitting on top. Like that is my dream. Because you know, we're getting out there. We're servicing everyone that can possibly be recycling with us. So yeah, we had that bag in mind so that it could be easily picked up by your postal worker. And you know, they can drop it in the back of their truck. You can drop it to the post office if you've got a few of those bags. You just need to go to the sort of like pull down shoot effectively. You don't even need to speak to someone in the actual store. Or yeah, you could leave it in your work mail room if you're, you know, working in a corporate building. You know, there's, you know, I've done some work in WeWorks and I've like dropped it at the mail room in the WeWork, like as I'm on my way out to the car. So yes, again, we did try and make it very easy and convenient, and really thought about like the bag, the makeup of the bag, the size of the bag, the cost of everything, and you know, just the ease of doing it. And in terms of the price point, you know, our solo bag is priced at 15.50, and then the more you buy in terms of like our 3-pack or our 10-pack, you do get a bit of a price break. And then for our subscriptions, you'll get 6 bags over the course of the year, and you can either pay upfront and get a discount or just pay quarterly. So we wanted to have a whole lot of different options. Um, you know, one other quick tidbit is that from the get-go, when we launched, we started having customers come to us and saying, do you take fabric scraps? Like, do you take things that aren't whole goods? And to be honest, we'd never thought about it. So immediately, you know, our recycling partner was like, yeah, but that's not great, because like if you think about, like if you're putting some clothes in the bag and then you're putting some old wool, or you know, I actually have like some stuff that needs to go into a scraps bag here, but like old wool or offcuts from sewing and quilting, it's like getting stuck on the garments and things. So that idea of being able to easily send things to a thrift store was becoming more challenging.
Mhm.
So it took us a few years to find a partner that would take a scraps only bag. And, you know, we were super excited to be able to launch our scraps bag this year that is really for that, like, crafty community, and have a solution dedicated for them, which goes to a facility specifically that will take the bags because they will open them and, you know, really make sure the contents don't go to landfill. And that makes our core recycler for our classic bags very happy too. So win-win all round.
And you know what? It's so smart to snap up that community because over time, throughout a year, my gosh, the amount of scraps they probably amass is insane. And you know
Totally.
what? do you do with it? I know every seamstress I've ever met tries to make use of every script and scrap they
Yes.
have, but there is still that pile of trash. So it is amazing that you were able to find an outlet for that as well, because you wouldn't think of wool or, a tiny scrap of fabric being worth anything, but the fact that it's valuable to someone is just
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
I think that I mean our as we've touched on, like our customers are amazing in their advocacy for what we're doing, but there is something inherent about that sort of crafty community. As you said, they do try and use every single scrap that they have in whatever, projects they're working on. So there's something inherent, about them wanting to save the pieces and do the right thing with them. So yeah, the feedback we've received has been phenomenal. So we're really excited to be able to help those customers out a little bit more.
And it's really nice because over time you're growing in essence two different sectors. You could kind of think of a professional seamstress more in the business side of things, but that is one of those things that over time will become a habit that gets passed on and spoken about amongst different seamstresses and entrepreneurs. And it's just really beautiful that the butterfly effect here is just, it seems pretty immense. Based on your social media alone, I think it's safe to say that Retold customers and users are absolutely shouting about you from the rooftops. Like, what does that feel like to have created a brand that has such love and admiration from and respect? It seems ultimately respect from your customers so soon in the game.
Oh, thank you so much for recognizing that. I mean, it feels amazing, to be honest. And, you think about different companies and, even places I've worked that will have like, oh, we're going to have a charitable day or like tack on something that, is like a great, like feel good moment for the team in addition to your corporate values or whatever. And like, that's great and everything. But our sort of like heartbeat, our mission is the entire business. We are a mission driven business, and we are based on this sort of set of values that is really about helping other people and helping the earth. And quite frankly, most of the time that doesn't feel like work. And that's what I think fuels our team that works on Retold. And for our customers, the more I spend time working on Retold, the more I fundamentally believe that recycling in this capacity is self-care. It's like a form of wellness. It's almost like a spiritual act in that you are not only doing something to improve your own environment and your headspace, the clarity, not cluttering up things, allowing you to welcome in other things that will bring you joy. But at the same time, that act of getting things out of your home is actually doing good for the earth. There's like something so feel good and nourishing around that. That, like you said, it's the butterfly effect or the flywheel. It's like the more people experience that and, they're telling their friends or passing it down to the next generation as they're teaching them how to sew, etc., etc. There is we call it's a movement. But I think it's almost um uh like a quiet movement in a way. It's not it's just sort of like it's very inner in a way. Yes, you can have the loud advocacy for what we're doing, and yes, everyone please post that on all social channels and shout about Retold, but enjoy that in a good vibe. And sort of that like almost like spiritual aspect that's coming to you for opening up your space and your home, really your life, for more good things that can come in as you're decluttering. So something great there.
I love that, and it really does resonate, and I'm sure it resonates with a lot of people in our age group, millennials especially. It's like we always want to do our best, and it's difficult these days to know the difference between the good guys and the people that jumped on the bandwagon and are making a quick buck and aren't doing their best, and they're not
Mhm.
transparent, and they're not really forthcoming with what's really going on. And, I think there's been a lot of burning in the past to where people
Mhm.
feel like there's been a lot of greenwashing, there's been a lot
Mhm.
of letdowns in what's actually happening. And that's part of why I was so excited to have a conversation with you, because you can tell just with the amount of research and the attention to detail and every single step, every bow has been like tied. It's very easy to see that you've not only created a circular environment in which a person can insert themselves to do good, but they can also know that no matter what, it's going to be used down to the last scrap, which is such a wonderful thing to be able to spend $15 on and then walk away from it. It's just like, oh, in the box it goes. And now I know no matter what, when it gets to where it's supposed to go, it's going to be used and it's not going to be wasted. And that's a really beautiful assurance that, I mean, I think we all absolutely can afford to make better choices for ourselves in how we are going about fueling our routines. And this is absolutely one that I think a lot of people have been looking for, but didn't really know where to find it. So
Mm.
I'm so thankful that you're here now, because I'm certain you're going to become a household name in the way of Google and everything else for sustainable, practical matters of recycling, and not only recycling for it to be disposed of, but recycling for it to be relived in. And it's such a
Mhm.
large problem and such a large country to try to solve it in. And you guys are just crushing it. So thank you for paving the way and for pushing this mindset through, because I think the hardest part about it is the mindset.
Yeah.
Anyone can put together a system, but the bravery in crafting an entire system and business around the idea of helping people to do good is not something that everyone would take a leap into. So, what was that time like when you and your co founders were kind of finalizing this idea and deciding, like, you know what, we're ready to launch? We know that this is something that we can really sink our teeth and our heart into, and like, we're ready to go.
I think honestly, it was once we locked our recycling partner into place and having done the kind of like due diligence phase with him to understand, okay, where does everything go and can you live up to all, of our expectations around, okay, it goes to thrift stores. What if it doesn't get sold in thrift stores? Okay, then it goes back into the downcycling channel and sort of like closing all of those loops, making sure, we like to keep everything domestic as well as a more on the bulk side or the sort of B2B side of our business. There may be some occurrences where items will go offshore, but we like to keep everything domestic to keep our arms around the process. But I think, for us, it was so arduous to kind of get to that point of finding someone who would believe in our model and have the same values as us. That once we locked that company into place, we knew we were off and running. It was kind of like the universe, we had asked a million times and just believed that it was going to happen. And then it finally fell into place. And we're like, we have to do this now. It's a sign, it's meant to be. And then, to be honest, like we launched with a soft launch in 2020, in the middle of COVID. We turned our site on, and within a matter of days, really not doing any marketing, we got an order from someone we didn't know. And of course, we were all like texting each other, like, do you know this person? Is that someone's like aunt, or you know what I mean? And we couldn't work out who they were. And we're like, here they come. And and that's honestly what happened. And it's sort of like, it's just, we found that gap and that need, and we put it out there, and now it's like, yes, it's our job to bring the customers, to like raise the awareness, to do that educational piece. But I think what you're saying is right, is that we like put it out there in people's consciousness, and then they will become sticky to the concept, and realize that that's something that they need to incorporate in their lives. And 10 years ago, nothing like this existed. And we're just really hoping that in the next 10 years, to retold is synonymous with getting rid of the textiles from your home, sustainably and in a way that you believe in. So yeah, world domination, let's go.
Oh yes, it's well underway, so it's destined to happen for sure. I would love to touch on your time on Shark Tank. You were on season 14, episode 14.
Yes.
What was that like? I've had a few people on that have been on Shark Tank, and you all have very different responses. So I can't wait to hear what that experience was like for you and your co-founders. And um, so you are free to give your spoilers out. So just let
Okay.
everyone know what the experience was like and what ended up happening.
Yeah. So basically, the Shark Tank casting team found us and reached out to see if we'd be interested in going through the audition process. And nothing like that was on our radar at all. We had only been operational for a couple of years. So we were like, really? Like, we're too small. We haven't got the setup, whatever the case may be. But we went through the process just, to see honestly what would happen. Um, and we just kept getting through each stage. So we really didn't have a lot of like attachment to the outcome. By the point where we were about to go into the tank, dynamics had changed with the economics, because a large, with the shipping label attached to our bags, we're beholden to whatever that rate is that we pay for the shipping. So it's kind of like, as economic forces happen across the globe, like that impacts our cost base. And things were not as rosy as what they had been in the previous couple of years. So we're like, could do with some money, like that would be helpful. So it wasn't purely about the awareness. We were interested in the money as well, but obviously there was other ways to get that too. So we really went into it with a very open mind. And I no one likes public speaking, but to go into the pressure cooker of the tank and to know that part of the entertainment value is for the sharks to grill you is very, very stressful, especially when it is your own business. It's your baby, you know what I mean? Like it's super confronting. And for then also to know that there's obviously going to be an edit, like we're not crazy. Like what is filmed is not necessarily what is going to be put out to air, or are you going to air it all? There's no guarantee. And we certainly were thinking, oh, it's a lie that the sharks have no idea about you before they come into the tank. Well, that is 100% true. Yes, you've been vetted by production behind the scenes, but the sharks themselves really just know your name and the name of your business, and you go from there. So that is why your pitch has to be killer, and you have to know all of your numbers and be able to tell your story in a compelling way, because you have only that time in the tank. Like no one's coming in with a predisposed opinion of like, oh, I think I'll get on this one. I've read the notes behind the scenes. So it was very intense, very stressful. All of the sharks passed on us until we got to Mark Cuban, who is our fairy godfather. He like really came through with the goods. So he offered us a deal. And it's funny, like when we had talked about the different sharks that, we were excited to potentially work with, Mark's name never really came up. And I think it's because we were very focused on expanding into retail and the fashion angle. So there were other sharks who were we gravitated more towards in our sort of like pre-thinking. But in hindsight, I mean, man, we absolutely lucked out. Like we have the perfect shark for our business needs. And it's like Mark and his team have sort of like slotted in to be this amazing, like sort of like governance and sounding board and just like panel of experts that we can tap into that honestly is very complementary to what our sort of like core team brings to the table. So it really rounds out our team. And I've been quoted before to say that the money was like cherry on top, and that is 100% true. It's been able to unlock a lot of things for us for sure, but overall, I absolutely can't say a bad word about the Shark Tank experience, except for the fact that like the 25 minutes that I spent in the tank probably gave me a million more gray hairs and may have taken a couple of years off my life in terms of the actual like stress of being in there and having, our dreams potentially dashed and be humiliated on national television. But in hindsight, totally worth it. So
Wow. I love that. And it just seems like things have just kept falling into place for you guys in such a beautiful, authentic way that it seems very meant to be. And, that's not always something that businesses get to have. So I'm so thankful that it has kind of worked out in that way for you guys. It's really beautiful. I
thank
want
you.
to make sure we touch on your partners, how people can work with you and how
Mhm.
you work with them. So can you break down the different parts of your partnership program?
Yeah, exactly. Happy to. So yeah, we have our consumer bags. So anyone who just wants to recycle in their home can obviously go to retailedrecycling.com and order our bags. Soon we're expanding into retail, so you'd be able to buy like a little pack of retail bags, hopefully in a grocery store near you, and a whole lot of other outlets. But one thing that really expanded with Shark Tank was our B2B business in terms of having brands and corporates come to us to say, how can we white label your bags? How can we buy your bags in bulk? Can you handle our recycling as well for us? Or can you help us with our storytelling, help us with our educational programs? So we joke a lot, and that all of the approaches that we had post Shark Tank, we kind of just said yes and worked it out behind the scenes. We really sort of have a wide variety of partners that we work with now, in terms of like, we'll work with law firms, we'll work with large telcos, we'll work with obviously your clothing or household, textile providers like linen companies and things like that. We're working with like the Conrad Hotel in New York to provide a linens recycling program. There's a lot of different partners that we're working with in multiple capacities. But I think the net, obviously it's still our core mission, which is to make sure none of our partners' goods end up in landfill. How can we be transparent? How can we tell that educational story? And then how can we get them credit for the good work that they're doing? So how do we tell that story and package it up so that they understand, oh, here's Retold that I know. And, X brand or X corporate has partnered with Retold to do the right thing. We're really here to help sort of add that, we call it sustainability credibility, for whoever wants to partner with us.
I love that. And please tell us a little bit about your sustainable store
Oh,
and how
yeah.
that came to be because it's such a fun idea. And in researching this, I rediscovered three brands I completely forgot about that I'm so
Oh,
excited that you
amazing.
brought across my face again. So tell us
Thank
about
you.
that.
Yeah, so it's another way we do work with brands. Exactly, is we have our sustainable store, which is our retold edit for amazing brands and gifts that are all eco-minded. We don't want to align our brand with companies that aren't also walking the talk. So the sustainable store is a great way that we can highlight other products that we love, that we think our customers will enjoy. So think of the Retold Sustainable Store when you're gifting this holiday. And actually, another way I'll just shout out, in terms that we work with different brands that we love, is to have them be part of our Retold Rewards program. So if you have a subscription, for every bag that you send in, we unlock a promo code and from our rewards gallery, and you can then shop a multitude of our favorite brands that are in that rewards gallery. So, we love to reward our customers. We love to have them working with brands that we know and believe in. So also check out our rewards gallery for some more brands that, you should sort of pop back here for possible swaps in the future.
Yes, guys, I'll leave a ton of links in the show notes so you can get to shopping, get your bags first and foremost, and then head over to the sustainable store and lay your eyes on some of that. And you're going to put it in your cart. And you're going to be very happy. um, literally need to know, what does it feel like to have created such an impactful company that is really doing good for the earth? Like, what does that feel like?
I mean, it feels good. Obviously, like I mentioned before, it doesn't feel like work a lot of the time, which is, I think, the answer. None of us want to have that corporate grind. There's nothing fulfilling and sort of, there's nothing that speaks to the heart around that kind of just like clock in, clock out work. None of us are looking for that. So for us to be able to create an environment where not only like us, our teams, our partners all feel amazing to be contributing to this mission, I mean, it feels amazing. And, as I mentioned before, I think really sort of taking care of yourself and your space and your home through this practice really is self-care. It's like I said, I believe it's a spiritual act. So, I mean, that's another layer as well. I mean, I certainly have a lot of, retail bags at home, and I'm sort of, I'm enjoying that practice myself. So it's nourishing. I'm so proud of what we do every day, and especially proud of our team who are just so proactive and passionate about trying to find solutions, whether that's, the person who runs our social team and is always thinking about the ways we can communicate through different content pieces, through to, our partnerships lead, it's our logistics partners who are like, actually, I think we've got a better way. We can save you a few dollars. Or, is it our warehousing team where they're like, I've got something that's going to be more efficient. Everyone's like bringing their expertise to make sure that at the end of the day, we are, fulfilling our promise to our customer to be able to get them this product that is diverting items from landfill. And when we see, you mentioned up front, that's the 180 tons, it's the big, blue whale, we have a ticker on our website where you can see that go up. And, spoiler alert, but like coming up to National Recycling Day, we're waiting. Waiting. So there's perfect timing. Some balloons rise up. We're waiting to see if we can cross over the 200-ton mark around National Recycling Day in November. So we just like, we're obsessed with the numbers too. Like, we really think about what that impact is. And, that is incredibly nourishing. And, we're just really proud of the work that we do, and that we make so many customers really happy, and that they find everything we do super easy and convenient, and worth the money that they're spending on it. So
It's
yeah, it
beautiful.
feels
It
very
really
good.
is. I'd
Thank you.
like to highlight, everyone listening, you can make an insane impact alone, and you can make an even bigger impact with a lean team, which is exactly how Retold does everything that you've heard about in this show. So don't think that your idea can't make a huge splash if it's just you and a small team, because as Amelia and her co-founders and her co-workers have all proven, 180 tons of trash was diverted from a landfill and reused because of their efforts and their time of getting up and going to work every day. So you can make a huge, huge corporate level impact with the heart of few, and do so beautifully as Amelia and her team have done. Um, I have one final question
Yeah.
for all of my guests, and it's this: Amelia, how do you make your life rich?
Um, my life is rich because of my beautiful friends and family. So I'd say spending time with them, but working on Retold every day, and I mean we do work on it every single day, absolutely makes my life rich too. So I'm very lucky that I have that sort of personal and professional balance. And, I think I'm in a very sweet spot. I'm very appreciative and grateful.
Oh, I love hearing that. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for your time and for
Thank
sharing
you.
everything about Retold Recycling. Everyone listening, jump in the show notes, go grab your bag, go learn more about the company, follow them on Instagram, share, tell everyone you know. It's fall heading into winter season. You know you're going to be cleaning out your closets. Christmas time is coming. Moms, go clean out those closets. Those pajama pants that are a little too tight, they're ready. Put them in the bag, okay? Like, I'm speaking to my sister who doesn't listen to this show, but I know she could fill up a bag full of kids' clothes that haven't fit in a year. So, this is your gentle reminder that it's time to clean your closet, and you're going to do so with Retold Recycling. Thank you so much, Amelia.
Perfect. Thank you so much.